Welcome to Gold Pill. This is a YouTube channel where we discuss spirituality and religion for the purpose of edifying ourselves and getting closer to the divine. Today we're going to be talking about how Jesus rejected blood sacrifice and how blood sacrifice is actually demonology. Now, in Matthew 9:13 as well as Matthew 12:7, it's very clear that Jesus rejected blood sacrifice, but he did it very subtly and intelligently. Now, Jesus was divine. He could have just said, look, I'm the Son of God. Blood sacrifice is evil. You guys are worshiping a demiurge. But he knew that he was speaking to a people whose traditions were steeped in demonology. So he had to wean them away from demonology very subtly. So in chapters and instances where he would forgive people, the Pharisees and scribes would challenge him and say, hey, who do you think you are? And then he would reference Hosea 6:6. Yeah, isn't it written in your Torah that God desires mercy, not sacrifice? Now, this is a very slick way to reject blood sacrifice, because Hosea 6:6 actually goes that Elohim desires mercy, not blood sacrifice or burnt offering. And the knowledge of Elohim is higher than burnt offering. But here's the thing, right? Hosea, when he says that, he is so steeped in Jewish tradition, even though he caught a glimpse of the divine when he says that God requires mercy more than blood sacrifice, he still tries to justify burnt sacrifice. Like he's saying that, well, burnt sacrifice isn't totally bad. It's just that mercy and knowledge is higher. No. Jesus here is making it very clear. He referenced only that first line. No. God desires mercy, not sacrifice. And so he's gradually weaning them away from demonology. Again, if he would have put 2 feet down and said, look, man, I'm the Son of God. Blood sacrifice is just evil. Stop doing it. The people would have rejected him, because there were other avatars of the divine, like Zarathustra as well as Quetzalcoatl, who came in and tried to tell the people, hey, you guys are worshiping demons. Blood sacrifice is evil. They got totally rejected. Zarathustra is a great example, because he was rejected by the people because he made those very strong stances. And then he had to wander the desert for 10 years and then go back into civilization. And, he was in Iran and everything like that. So that's why Jesus didn't take a hard stance against it. He took a very subtle stance and rejected it. So he was weaning the people away from demonology and toward the divine. Now, in addition, blood sacrifice is actually demonology. Any person or being asking you for blood sacrifice is evil, okay? Demons feed off of death, terror, fear, and suffering. So that is the ritual that you're actually practicing when you slaughter an animal or a human for the purpose of benefiting a spiritual being on the other side that you think is God, the Supreme. Okay, this is actually one of the most obvious and simple signs, the most important signs, to know whether or not the being you're worshiping is the divine or a demon. Because the act of slaughtering an animal, the animal gets charged with fear and terror. So the being on the other side in the spiritual and the astral realm is consuming that fear as food. So in actual reality, when you do that horrific act, you are feeding a parasite or a demon on the other side. It doesn't matter if it's a archon, demon, parasite, or a reptilian. You're feeding a very negative being. In addition, the idea that the one true infinite creator requires you to slaughter an animal or even worship is repulsive. Because let's just stick with blood sacrifice. Blood sacrifice is cruel. So you're basically saying that the supreme being that created all things requires you to be cruel to life that he created. And that he lacks something and he needs something from you. It's actually very insulting. The supreme being that created all things does not need anything from you. However, if you want to contribute to life, then the message has been made clear in various avatars of the divine that have come. But let's stick with Jesus because that's what most people are familiar with. So the main things you should be doing if you want to honor God is become like God. How do you do that? Love your neighbor and become the best version of yourself. And actually, that is much harder than slaughtering an animal, because being the best version of yourself or becoming the best version of yourself is going to take your whole life. You have to be honest. You were not on your spiritual path and found Christianity. Christianity found you. You got peer pressured in by fear and tradition by your loved ones who inherited generations of ignorance. Your moms did this tradition and they passed on their ignorance to you. So at some point in your life, you have to evolve and accept you are doing something in the dark, not in the light. Okay? So, lastly, the idea that Jesus was a sacrifice to God is repulsive. Again, the one true infinite creator does not need a blood sacrifice of any kind. What Jesus was demonstrating to you was love, the highest form of love, which is self-sacrifice. Think about it. When a mother goes through a childbirth, she could die from childbirth. Yet, she never regrets any of her children. And if you ask her if she would go through it again, she would do it happily. That is pure love, self-sacrifice. The purpose of Jesus' life isn't for you to worship him as a sacrifice. It was for you to emulate him as a sacrifice. In that, you're sacrificing yourself for the betterment of humanity and also sacrificing your lower nature. In addition, Jesus never used the word sacrifice to describe what he had to do. He used the word fulfillment. Furthermore, Jesus did not ask you to sacrifice any animals. He asked you to sacrifice your comfort, your relationships with family and friends, and money to pick up your cross and follow him. So if you sincerely follow Jesus, you will stop using this term that he was the lamb and the sacrifice for God. The supreme being doesn't need any sacrifice. That's demonology. You're actually calling the supreme being a demon when you think that it needs a blood sacrifice to atone for your bad behavior. Now, if you read the canon as well as the Gnostic texts of Jesus talking, he never used the word sacrifice. What he mandated was self-sacrifice. Okay? So, one more time, the point of his self-sacrifice was for you to emulate his example, not for you to worship his example. Now, one can only reach this type of perspective if they take the time to read the canon as well as certain Gnostic texts. So I'd recommend reading the Gospel of Thomas, Mary, Philip, Peter, Gospel of Judas, as well as Pistis Sophia, of course the canon, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Okay, this is an elevated perspective for people who are sincere seekers of God. So I'm not gonna tell you things I can't substantiate and back up. Furthermore, I'm not looking to produce followers. Like Jesus, I'm looking to produce leaders. So I insist that you read the canon for yourself. Again, these aren't books that are gonna take you a whole year to read. But even if it did take you a year to get that type of knowledge, it would be worth it. Because if you're seeking God, the amount of time it takes you to understand and perceive God matters very little. What really matters is you putting the work in to pursue God and get closer to God, rather than living the lies and the traditions that have been passed on to you. So, with that being said, live, laugh, love, meditate, read, Study, listen. Practice semen retention. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Forgive.